Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Geek First Review. My name is Travis now, and as always, go down below. The video and audio feeds are there. You can subscribe on Patreon and get ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, early episodes, tons of stuff. There's an episode up there because of all the delays. We record a Howard the Duck retro, and that doesn't come out until the Eternals comes out, so you can get that for $1 right now. So that's a steal of a deal because that's an over a year exclusive podcast for just a little $1. So, and as always, please give us a review if you like what we do, like what I do, anything on the channel that helps us big time. We're trying to get 200 on Apple Podcasts. A written review is what would help us greatly. So, Capone. Boy. So this is a movie. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, all that good jazz. This is a movie that I got it, watched it on Tuesday. I had gone back and forth as far as if I was going to review this movie or not because I just did not enjoy it. I will say this. It will be spoilers, but really at the end of the day, you kind of know the Capone story. But I just don't have much. As a non-spoilers, don't watch this movie. I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's... I was interested in it for a few reasons. One, Josh Trank. Josh Trank has a very crazy story in Hollywood, right? He makes Chronicle. Very good movie. Becomes a breakout hit. And he's kind of like the new hot shit on town because he gets Fantastic Four. He's making that. And then in the middle of production, they announce he's doing a Star Wars. So he's an interesting story if you think about that, right? Just this makes his breakout hit. He's on the way. And I listened to him talking about the story about being in like Lucasfilm and knowing like he's going to do a Boba Fett film and he's pitching these ideas and whatnot. So it's funny to see just like the waves he's gone down. So I was interested in that because I liked Chronicle. With Fantastic Four, I think that's half a good movie. And plus there's been so much backstory on the studio disagreements and whatnot. You go, okay, maybe that wasn't him. You know, we've seen that many times where a studio and director do not get along. And for that reason, they both clash and the movie turns up poor, which exactly what happens with Fantastic Four. And of course, Tom Hardy. And I feel like it's just kind of, I always said this before Dark Knight Rises and Mad Max, but I feel like not everybody, but there's a group of people that were really talking about, man, he's such an underrated actor. Like, he's a fantastic actor. Like, and I guess Warrior helped that a bit, but it's like no one's talking about how Tom Hardy is like a top 5 actor. I still think he can be. I think the problem is not him. This is a very like first world issue, but it's either his taste or his agent's taste. I think that's been the problem now, where I feel like after Inception and then those past 3 years, even that time, like This Means War came out, right? But I'm still a massive Tom Hardy fan. I just think he's kind of like Fassbender more recently, where it's like he's a phenomenal actor. And I think if he wants, he could wake up and be the best actor in the world on any given day. But it all comes down to the material. And sometimes, whether it's him or his agent, they pick some questionable material. And that is Capone. And I would say, if you're thinking about, the only reason I'd say if you really want to watch, if you just love Tom Hardy and you got to watch everything he does, then fine. And if you semi like Gangster Mobster or the story of Capone, then sure, but I'd say it's not worth a purchase. I say you could easily wait, because the best thing I could say about this is it's a collection of scenes. It is, the movie's plot is, it's about Capone in his last year, if you didn't know this. And I'm a big fan of just gangsters and mobsters. There's something about them, cowboys and pirates, these criminals, like these different eras of criminals, because they all have a different code, they all have a different system, they all have different like surroundings, right? So I've always been obsessed with those type of things, and I loved the two things that I've really loved the past like decade is the Mafia series on the Xbox and PlayStation, all those kind of ones, and then is Boardwalk Empire. I love that kind of golden age, like I said, gangster bank heist. I wanted to love Public Enemies, and I still really do like it. People are trash on that movie a lot, but it's like I still like it. I just like that setting. I even just love the little stuff like the Tommy guns back then, So I'm a big time mobster gangster fan. Goodfellas is in my top 10 favorite movies, so that interested me. And the Capone story is an interesting one, but this story in particular is about, so if you haven't followed him, he got caught for tax evasion, not any of his crimes. He goes to prison, but he gets so loopy and out of it that they just decide to put him back in his home on house arrest / kind of under surveillance. And then this story is about the last year of his life. And so he has a pretty much you want to like I don't want to say Alzheimer's, but he just has a severe case of just I would say brain damage or brain sickness as far as he will sometimes forget things, but it's just like he's hallucinating. He's talking to people that aren't there. He's forgetting things, but it's not like he's like jumps back to a certain point or the other versions of amnesia. It just sounds like he had a lot of mental problems in his later years, and it's karma. He's killed many innocent people, took a lot of money. As much as I can establish the difference of I love that world and I love that genre of film and I love looking into those type of people back then, but they're all shitty people who deserve what they got, whether if they were killed or put in jail, right? So that's the thing with Capone. It is tough to feel bad for him, and that's where it's just kind of like I don't know what this movie was trying to say. So sometimes I feel like they try to maybe paint this as a not sympathetic, but as a man regretting his decisions. But I feel like they never go full with that. They try to make it a horror-esque film, but they never go full with that. And then I don't know, there's some element of a crime movie like as well, a mobster movie kind of, and they never go full on with that. There's all these storylines running concurrently at the same time. And none of them really pay off, And this is where, if you didn't want to be spoiled by the movie, I will give you a 3, 2, 1, and then I'll say spoilers. But my last thoughts are, I just don't think it's a movie worth watching. I will never watch this again. I think Tom Hardy gives a good performance, but it's with some bad material. And even then, he is doing a good job acting, but what they give him makes it look like he's not doing a good job acting, and that's unfortunate. It makes him look bad sometimes, and it makes it look cheesy. And I was pretty disappointed, and I am very interested to see what happens with Josh Trank's career, because we've had a few of these where Neil Blomkamp, he's a guy that had this big hit, and then he had a bunch like going down, then he's like in TV. Alex Garland, who I don't think Annihilation was, I liked Annihilation, not as much as Ex Machina, but he's doing TV. So we've kind of seen that with these like bigger sci-fi directors where they come out of the gate swing. They got a big hit everyone's talking about, and then they can't measure up to that first hit, and they almost like dabble in smaller projects, TV, web series. I think that's what Trank's going to do, because I think this movie has been done for a while, and it just came out because probably the pandemic. They're hoping to get some money off it. And I'm interested to see what he does in his career, but I'm not interested enough where with Alex Garland, I really did like Chronicle, but I've had Fantastic Four and I had this. Other things like with Alex Garland, I didn't love Annihilation, but there is enough in there to go, I want to see what he's going to do. I didn't watch that TV show's Devs just because I don't have time for a TV show, but I think I will in the future. Neil Blomkamp's the same, where I don't love things like Chappie and whatever that other one he did with Matt Damon, Elysium, but it's like there's still enough in here where it's like I could see him knocking it out of the park again. There wasn't enough in Capone for me to think Josh Trank is going to knock it out of the park again. I think I would give him, I don't know. I'd give him one more shot if it was something that I was really interested in or it was a great trailer. But I thought the trailers for this were good. But if he just made a straight up movie now about anything I didn't really have that caring about, not really. That's where it's the difference of something like an Ari Aster where Hereditary, Midsommar, where I feel like I'm in this weird camp where I really enjoy them, but I don't love them like other people. I feel like those movies are you love them or you hate them. That's everyone I talk to, and I'm very much in the middle where I think like I really enjoy Hereditary, but I think it's too long sometimes. And Midsommar, it's like it's very generic at times, even though it got some weird stuff going on. But or the same thing like what's his name? We did The Lighthouse. I've liked The Lighthouse more and more as further it's gone along, but I didn't love it the first time I saw it. And I just still went like there's things in this movie that I don't like and I don't really care for, and I don't think it deserves this massive praise. But there's things that I go, this is weird and unique enough. I want to come back and see what else they're going to do. Robert Eggers. They kind of have me as like whatever they put out, I'm going to watch until I really, really dislike it. I think I really, really dislike Capone. So there's your non-spoiler. So I'm going to give you the 3, 2, 1. I'm going to take a sip of water. I don't think there's anything left in here. Look at that. Like a gulp, not even. This cup has been great. I got it a few months ago. I am a big person for particular cups. My green one I had, it was like a, where you press the button on the lid and you drink the water. It was spilling, and I just never can find the right one. But this, like every once in a while, my youngest daughter Logan, she'll always knock it down, it spills up. But the spillage is very low. I like straws. It's very easy, especially in reviews. It's a great cup. It holds a lot of water because I drink, because I talk and ramble a lot. So great cup. Shout out to what is this? Reduce, sponsor us, because you make some goddamn good. And the other things too, my last point about the cup is I'll fill it with nice cold Brita water, and it'll be like 12 hours later I'll come to it, and it's still pretty chilled. So good job, Reduce. I'm a big fan. So Capone. And then so this is where I was getting into spoilers. This won't be long because there's not much. Capone's dead. He was sick. He died. You know the story. But the three things they have going on is they kind of have, and they're kind of conjoined, but Capone will have Fonz will have he'll have in and out moments, right? Where maybe he'll look over to his left and he'll see a dead person, he'll see someone stabbed, or he'll walk down a door, he'll turn into it, and then he's in a whole different set, right? And it's kind of like, oh, he's in the past, he's reliving moments of his life, and at one point he's just really out of it, and and that's what I mean. Like Tom Hardy does a good job, but sometimes it just comes off as so silly. There's a moment where he's having this flashback that they kill this guy and he like stabbed him a bunch in his neck. And then later on in the movie, they have dinner with the same guy years later because that was some weird mind flashback. And then he's like, he's getting really up. He's like, assassin. He's calling him all these names like a murderer, right? But it's the thing of Capone murdered so many people, and if you're gonna do the sympathetic route, you want to try and do the man that looks back at his life and goes, "I made a lot of mistakes and I regret that." You can do that. It's a hard sell deal with Capone, but there's a way to do that, and I think there was a 5% of them doing that, but that was the problem. Is 5%, and that's where you have to pick as far as is this gonna be. Because they have horror like elements. I was talking about non-spoilers where he'll be walking down the hall and then all of a sudden he'll turn and there's like a guy from his past. He's just standing there. But there's no like horror music. It's not creepy and it goes on way too long and there's no tension. They sometimes do that, or not sometimes. They do that a few other times of trying to create tension. And it's just like it's the music's off or there's no music or it just comes off as comedic sometimes. And that's where it's just like, if you're going to do that, I would have just preferred the full-on, we're going to spend this movie trying to make him sympathetic. There's also, you have the story of his wife who is having a tough time. I think Linda Carly is probably the best person in this movie because she gets to play like a normal person, but she's just trying to take care of her husband who's clearly really sick. And they have some very strange scenes. There's one scene where Capone shits the bed, and it is just like, it's horrifying. And again, everything they're trying, or even Trank is trying to make feel very serious or depressing, it just sometimes comes off as funny or gross. It just doesn't, he doesn't get the right tone down, in my opinion. Throughout the entire movie, it just feels off. It doesn't feel like I said, I don't know, is this supposed to be horror? Is this supposed to be sometimes comedic? Is it supposed to be dramatic? Is it supposed to be self-reflecting? And the question is, I think they're trying to go for all that. And I always bring this up, so it's a broken record, but that's why Tarantino is one of my favorite directors. If Nolan wasn't around, he would be my favorite director next to Martin. It's just like, he can, that tone that Tarantino captures is so hard to do. And when people try it, there's some people successful, like, what is his name? I can't remember his name, but the guy who did Cabin in the Woods and Bad Times at El Royale, I feel like he does capture that, but it's still like few and far in between. That's kind of Bad Times at El Royale is like one movie in the past like few years. There's always, and even then I would say doesn't reach the heights of a Tarantino movie. I think I still gave that movie like a 10 because I love Bad Times at El Royale, but it's still just like Tarantino it pulls off so flawlessly. And I'm not saying Tranco's going for that type of vibe, but he was going for something. It just didn't work. I was talking about this on another podcast, so check out I Love That Movie podcast coming up soon. I was guest on there and we talked about Time. Fantastic podcast. Lisa's a great host. She's going to be on our network June 1st, Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'm very excited to be working with her. And I made talking about a scene in comparison of a blender and adding things to it. That same things when you're making a shake, if you people that work out, if you're doing morning shakes, one wrong fruit or one wrong vegetable can ruin the shake. And maybe not ruin it, but just make it taste a little off, right? Or slushies. If you love like or what is it, mudslide, or what is it, like swamp water, that's what it's called, right? Where you mix up a bunch of flavors. All it takes is one flavor to ruin that slurp. You go, I shouldn't have added that. Or, I should have just got the one flavor. This has that, but it's a lot of flavors. And like I said, there's things that are comedic when they don't mean to be. I don't know if they're trying to make things horror-ish. If they are, they didn't do a good job. And like I said, if they, at the end, they feel like they're trying to work in trying to sympathize with him or making him look back at his life, but he doesn't get to do that enough. It's a lot of Tom Hardy walking in and out of scenes, like shaking and like scared or not knowing what's going on. And he just always has a blank like expression on his face because he is losing his mind. And I think he does that well, but you just don't get much from him. It's just always like he's looking like a Dan DeVille's Penguin. And it's the same way, which I criticized it for, something like First Man, Ryan Gosling. I think he performs that well. It's just the problem is the way they wrote that character and he portrayed it. There's not much you can, for me personally, attach to that character. It's tough to do a character that maybe only has one emotion throughout the entire movie. Where something like Drive, I feel like Ryan Gosling does it because he has one emotion. He's very quiet, subtle person, but he has something just a little bit more that you want to know about. There's not much, a little bit more about Capone that I want to know about. Of course, I'm sure there is, but and then they do this is the other element. They add a crime element where there's money, right? There's apparently he stashed some money away maybe before he went to prison. He's out, and it's these mobsters want this money. There's other people that want the money, and Kyle MacLachlan. And that's what sucks when this movie started. There was so many. It was like Matt Dillon, Linda Cardellini, Kyle MacLachlan. I didn't really look into this, so I was like, man, this is a fucking good cast, and I love Kyle MacLachlan. I mean, he's such an underrated actor, man. I love that guy so much. But they do this plot where the mob is like bossing him, like, you got to find out where the money, and then you have multiple characters asking, like, Fonz, do you know where the money is? So they have like little scenes of like it being like a potential crime thriller, like where's this money gonna factor in the plot? It never does. It just gets to the end of the movie, and they go, the money was never found. You go, oh. Okay, we didn't even fucking need that in this movie because nothing comes of it. None of his family members get hurt because this money is missing. He doesn't get hurt. Like in this story, there could be other things about this that could be true that the money factored into it, but that's where you got to adapt that story and cut out because it didn't affect this story at all. It was just kind of there, and it just added another 15 minutes that didn't result in anything. There's the other storyline, which is he has a son that he obviously had at a wedlock or had an affair or something like that, and his son keeps calling the house, and unless Capone picks up, he won't talk, and it always like Linda will pick up and it's quiet, and he'll be like, I'm Tony, and then he'll hang up and get all nervous, and then his son shows up at the end, because many times Capone asks like, Tony, and his other son is like, who is this Tony guy, blah, blah. So they again have the storyline of, okay, maybe he had an affair, there's another son, because the son even goes like, I don't have another brother out there, do I? So it's like, oh, this could be some potential good family drama. No, it's the last 30 seconds in the movie, the son shows up, Tony, the one that's like the fair one. He sits down, just holds Capone's hand, and they sit there and they pan out, and then they start giving you the ending like text. You're like, what the fuck, man? Like like what was the point of all this? And that's where I just feel like it's a bunch of scenes, and I get it. There might be a book somewhere. I'm sure he's talked to people or other people have talked to people. But for me, it's a lot different where if you go, for the most part, we're making a Capone story and a Martin Luther King story. And both the movies start with, this was about Martin Luther King's last year on Earth. And this was about Capone's last year on Earth. Martin Luther King's story, I could believe that there's so much backstory, there's so many people involved, and there's so much just on public record we know about what happened to Martin Luther King that you could make a movie and I could feel like, oh, this did happen. There's so much stuff in here that feels like it'd be complete bullshit. And the same thing, I get it. He may have told some people, but at the end of the day, half this movie is him having visions in his head. At one point, he has this vision where he just breaks out a Tommy gun and shoots everybody because he has like tons of family in his house and his mansion and tons of workers. He just gets out there, shoots everybody. It's a dream sequence, but it's like, do we know that? Do we know that he had? And that's where, yeah, it's suspension of disbelief. But when you do the whole, this is the last year of his life. Okay, I was expecting it more to deal with maybe some of the little, like I had seen the trailer, so I knew he had some trippy stuff, but I was expecting a bit more how that would relate, or maybe him talking to characters, him trying to deal with it. No, it just feels like the characters know he's losing his mind, but he just never really talks about it. And I get it because he is losing his mind, and sometimes he doesn't remember his name, and I think Tom Hardy portrays those scenes well, but it's just, what's the point of it? And it is just hard to believe, like, this could all be made up because all this stuff's in his head. You don't know that he was thinking about the night where he slept with a woman that has an illegitimate child at this moment. It's just like, and you go, it's a movie, Travis. I know, but when you throw that, like, based on a real story, based on this, and you have some of those people throwing like The Conjuring. How do you know? You don't. But The Conjuring go, well, that you just have to believe because it's either real or it's either bullshit. And hopefully it's bullshit because I don't want those ghosts around in my house. But with Capone, it's a really real person that was a figure that we all know about. So it's just like, with Conjuring, that ghost story could be completely fake. So that doesn't really hurt me. Capone was a real person. Not that this hurts me, but that doesn't hurt my believability. Capone was a real person. We know that story for the most part. And I just didn't find it believable. Like I said, it just feels like a collection of scenes and montages that don't really run together. You have good performance, but sometimes are brought down and made to be cheesy and laughable because of script. All in all, what would I give this movie? I don't know. I might just pull the Dilmas and say a fail, but I would give this somewhere like, I don't know. I like a 2 something because I think Tom Hardy does a good job. I think, like I said, the script leads him astray. I don't think it was a long movie where it overstayed its welcome. I think you still could cut some stuff because I think it's like an hour 40, but it still feels long. But it doesn't feel obnoxiously long, so I'll give it that. But yeah, like a 2 out of 10, something like that. Not a good movie, not a great experience. I'm hoping to see Tom Hardy in something better, but I know Venom There Will Be Carnage is coming up, so that won't be the case. And Josh Trank, like I said, I'm willing to give him maybe one more chance, but that next chance he gets knocked out of the park because that's the unfortunate thing about this movie is people would always have that back and forth like, well, the studio messed with F4 and they go, well, no, Josh Trank was hard to work with, and you have this back and forth. And if he comes out and he makes a knockout, a home run, people go, clearly the studio should just left him alone and did his shit because this guy's a great director. He did Chronicle and look at Capone. Those are 2 good movies. Without the studio messing with him, he did a good job. Now you kind of get that other side of, oh, maybe it was him, maybe it wasn't the studio, maybe they're, and obviously it was Fox. They had some downers, right? But still, you give that credence of maybe it was you. And that's the shitty thing because I feel like now I don't think many people are going to give this movie a shot. Apparently it's doing well on VOD sales and like iTunes and stuff, so maybe there's not much to watch, but I think enough people could give it a shot and not enjoy it. And then when it comes to time to see another Josh Trank movie, but it's in theaters, people go, I'll skip this one. So not a fan of this movie. I'll never see this movie again. 2 out of 10, whatever the score is, it's a fail. Thank you very much for tuning this review. Next time you hear from me, I'll not be boring.